This is a podcast mostly about knitting, sometimes crocheting, but always about all of the yarny goodness that I love. Today is episode 95. It is Monday, April 29th, and I'm coming to you from my home in Nebraska. Everything I talk about will be in the show notes down below or over to the side. I think they may have changed where they are, but you can find links to patterns that I talk about and other places on social media where you can find me. So I have several finished objects for you today, and I have some works in progress. I have one knitting tale of woe. So we will go ahead and get started. The first finished object I have is this pair of vanilla socks. I looked back to when I started these, and these were started on February 23rd. So they took kind of a long while to complete, although I wasn't really dedicating much time to them until recently. I just wanted to get them finished. I don't like to have socks hanging around that long. But this yarn is Sweet Georgia Fibers in the tapestry colorway. This yarn has been in my stash for a very, very long time. And I was really happy to use it. It is a little more autumnal in color, but that's okay. The yarn itself was really, really nice to work with. I did knit this pair of socks for myself, so I did not wet block them. If I give a pair of socks for gift, I do wet block them and make them a little tidier, but since these will just go on my feet, and I think that's fine. So they're not the tidiest looking, they're a little rumpled, but I really do love how they turned out, and these will be a nice pair of socks to pull out next fall and winter. All right, the second project that I have that is finished is one of from my Make 9 New Projects board. It is the Sand Dunes Project Bag by Simply Bound, and here it is. I'm not completely happy with this, if I'm being honest. You can see the shape is rather odd. It is much more rectangular than square. You know, I think it should probably be more like that or something, but it definitely is more rectangular. I did end up lining the bag with some fabric, so you know that will absolutely make it usable for a project bag. Did I say the pattern is by Simply Bound, and the yarn that I used is Berroco Pima 100, so 100% Pima cotton in the Alyssum colorway, so that's a flower colorway. So you knit this long panel, and then you let's see, how did we do this? So you do knit this long panel, and then you pick up and knit this garter border along the side of each long side, and then you sew together, and then you join and add the strap last. So looking at it like this, it's really cute how it kind of folds in on itself. But I don't know. I mean, maybe when I use it, it will be fine. But it's not a bag that closes. So I still think I may just go back to using this for like a market bag or something, or a summer bag. I'm just not sure how practical it will be for a project bag. I really enjoyed the process of knitting it. I did say this last time. I think I did say this, that I think a better structured cotton, like a Lily Sugar and Cream, Peaches and Cream, would be better for a structured bag. Although I don't know that I would have enjoyed the knitting process as much because that tends to be harder on my hands. And this was, you know, this was just really delightful to work on. And you can see, you know, how drapey that is. But, so, I mean, it's kind of cute. I just think the shape is very odd. I did follow the pattern. So, yeah, it turned out to be an oddly rectangular shape bag, but it is finished. I had the experience of making it, which is what I wanted to do on my Make 9 board. So that is a finished object. And then I completed 6 dishcloths. So the first was a plain scrappy dishcloth a scrappy dishcloth that I had started a while ago and just needed to finish. I had about half done, maybe, the last time you saw it. So this pattern is the corner to corner moss stitch dishcloth by Agat Rottman. So I finished that one, and I've been making these a lot. And the next 5 dishcloths are also the same pattern. Now I did try to make these a little bit smaller because I thought this one was a little big. So you can see I did make it a little bit smaller. But this yarn, I used 2 new, so not scraps, but new cotton in my stash. So this was Picks Dishie. This multicolor one is, I think, Friendship Bracelet. And then this color here, this taupey tan color, is called Linen. So from those 2, I got 2 of each in this colorway and 2 of each in the plain linen. And then I put leftovers together into one scrappy one. So these dishcloths are for my sister Laura for her birthday. So they will be going out in the mail very shortly, along with the baskets that I made earlier that you saw. So I have a couple goodies, homemade goodies to send to my sister. But I did ask Laura if she wanted some dishcloths, and she said yes, she uses them every day. So she really uses them and would like some. So happy to have that completed for my sister's birthday. All right. I feel like we're just moving along really fast. So that is it for finished objects. I have something that's kind of finished, not really, but the knitting of my squares on my Cozy Memories blanket is complete. So when I spoke to you last time, I'm trying to find the top of it now. I should just look for the strings. When I talked last time, I needed to do 20 more squares to complete the blanket. So I marked where I was. So I had just started this square. I'll do my best to remember. I don't remember what all of these are, but I'll give this a try. I know this yarn is Cyborg's Craft Room, and I think it was a Monet, something to do with Monet, but that's a really pretty colorway. And then this, I think, was either, well, it was from either an advent calendar or an advent swap. This one was from a Nutcracker advent calendar. This one was from an advent mini skein swap. This, maybe you recognize this. This was used in that bistro shawlette that I showed the last time. This yarn was from my swap partner Teresa in 2023. Then going back, I'm just doing these in the order that I knit them. And then this green was used in a pair of socks This red was a swap mini. This pink here was also used in that bistro shawlette. That was the main body of the shawl. This dark mini, I don't recall for sure. This blue was a mini skein that I used in the heels of my Little Women Christmas socks. I think this was from my Advent mini skein swap, as well as this. This one here was the Nutcracker themed Advent, and I had made a beautiful shawl using all of those, 24 minis, but there was quite a bit left over, so I was glad to include some of it in here. This is a Maker's Haven colorway. This one, fun enough, is a junk yarn, and I say that's fun because Kemper Ray is the designer of this pattern, the Coziest Memory, and then she was also the yarn dyer for this yarn. These couple here, I think possibly all four were mini skein swap skeins that were also used to make squares, the crochet squares back in December when I was working on the crocheting of the squares. So I have completed the blanket. So it is 14 squares wide by 17 squares high, and I should just do some math. I should have done this ahead of time. I'm doing my math here. 7, 1. This may be wrong. 238. That doesn't seem right. 6, 7. Well, 200 and some squares in this blanket. You can double check my math, but 14 wide by 17 squares long. And how I decided on what length to make this, or how big to make this, I knew I didn't want to do this for a bed size. I knew I just wanted it for, well, I guess I didn't know when I started way back when, so best I can guess is either 2015 or 16, pretty close to the beginning of when this all, the Cozy Memories craze started with this pattern. So I guess I didn't know back then what size I wanted to make it, but in the end, I decided to have a nice throw size. And it's something that I could, lay down and take a nap under. It fully covers, up my feet. And I measured it against a blanket that we have in our living room that I really like to nap with or cuddle with. And so that's what determined, how wide and how tall the blanket would be. So now that I have the squares completed, I do need to do some weaving in of ends. And this does take some time. This will take a few hours to get those ends woven in. And then I plan to add an I-cord border. And I showed you 3 skeins of yarn that I had that I initially thought would be a sweater quantity. And I said I had no idea how much yarn it would take to make a border. Well, I looked on the Crazy Sock Lady's pattern for one of her Cozy Memories blankets, and it was bigger than mine. And I believe, if I remember this right, she said it only took 50 grams to go around the blanket. So that's kind of a bummer. I was hoping to get some more yarn out of stash, but that's okay. I did cake up one of those skeins of yarn. So this is Stress Knits yarn in the Accidental Gemini colorway. Ideally, my goal was to finish the knitting of the squares by April 30th. And so I did complete it ahead of schedule. And then my next goal would be to put the border on and have that complete by the end of May. And I don't really want it to take that long, but we shall see. But that is my new goal regarding this blanket. So ends woven in and the border put on. So the end is definitely in sight. I will say, you know, I think I finished knitting the squares on Friday night, Thursday or Friday night. And Saturday and Sunday night, I confess, I have felt a little lost not having my squares to knit in the evening. I mean, it's been so much a part of my knitting time for the last month, so month and a half maybe. So it feels really odd not to have those squares to work on, but I'm not starting a new one or anything. You know, this is a good project. I'm really excited that I have made it, that I persevered and kept going with it. Now just need to persevere to the end to get the border on. So I guess that's my last, well, that's one of my works in progress, but also completed squares. So very happy to have that work completed on that. I was definitely pushing myself to get going on that, or to keep going on that. I should say, I don't know, I just glanced down at my notes. I am working through my cotton yarn this year. I mostly am trying to work through my cotton yarn scraps, but I definitely wanted to give, you know, some, I just thought it would be nicer to have a little bit more cohesive set for Laura for her birthday. But I'm doing this, I'm following the hashtag bpfcdishclothmal. So Back Porch Fiber Company is hosting a year-long dishcloth mal to either crochet or knit dishcloths and post pictures on Instagram or comment on her YouTube videos to have a chance to win prizes. But when she announced that she was doing this, I knew I had so much cotton in my drawer that I knew that making some scrappy dishcloths would be a really fun way to go, and maybe would make that drawer less chaotic. It is not less chaotic yet. Those scraps, they may be multiplying in there. Not because I'm buying, but just they are multiplying in there. But I'm trying to work through. I definitely will take a picture at the end of the year to compare with the picture I have at the beginning of this year, and we'll see how things look. But that's what I wanted to say about the dishcloths. On to some more works in progress. Let's see. I started a pair of socks. So I finished a pair of socks and I cast on a pair of socks. And I told myself I was only going to cast on one pair of socks. So I'm not good with more than one pair of socks on the needle, because, you know, one pair always, if I started two pair right now, one would always linger for a couple of months. So, I mean, if I was just knitting socks and no other projects, I think that would be fine. And that might be really, really fun. But it is living in this bag, which says home. And this is the state of Michigan. This is where I grew up. Sort of where I grew up in Michigan. This is by Specialty Sewing. I had gotten this a number of years ago on Etsy. I don't believe she has a shop anymore, but I just loved that it was about Michigan and this fun dyed fabric. So in my Michigan bag is my new sock cast on. This is the Michigan Lakeshore Socks by Knit-A-Mizzou, which is kind of funny because Kalamazoo is in Michigan. So I'm guessing that maybe this company or this designer is from Kalamazoo, but it's called Knit-A-Mizzou. It's the Michigan Lakeshore Socks. And I am using this beautiful tonal blue yarn by Dye Mad Yarns in the Lake Michigan colorway. And I just have the cuff done, so not a lot to show. I've talked before, my heart kind of belongs to Michigan. So I was really excited to see this Lake Michigan themed yarn, and then digging on Ravelry to find, you know, a pattern that says Michigan Lakeshore. I think, you know, that's just perfect. And it is a free pattern, and it does have, I'll try to insert a picture because this picture is not so good. So it's a free pattern. It has a chart to read. So I usually like reading instructions, but it's not going to be too bad. The thing with this pattern is it calls for, it's only one size, and it says to cast on 72 inches. So, or not 72 inches, cast on 72 inches, cast on 72 stitches. And I believe it's a 12 row repeat, or 12 stitch repeat around the circumference of the sock. The problem with that is going to be too big. I typically make my socks a size 64, and they fit really, really well. So I kind of debated about what I should do. The pattern itself has some knit two togethers, some yarn overs, some SSKs. So I know there would be, you know, some eyelets and, you know, those decreased stitches sometimes make for a little tighter fabric. So I thought, well, is that going to be enough to pull in, you know, for 72 stitches? And I thought, So I went to some other projects for this pattern and saw that somebody cast on 60 stitches and made this sock. So they just cut out one of the repeats. So that's what I decided to do. Now, will this be too small? That was the next thing. Would those 4 stitches make a difference? So here is what I am doing. I knit my cuff on a US 1, and then for the body of the sock, I am going to go up to a US 1.5. If it was just plain stockinette, I would not do that. Well, this wouldn't be an issue if it was plain stockinette. But because there are the eyelets and the decreases in here, I have made another sock pattern a long time ago that tended to be really snug, you know, in a 64 stitch count. And so I thought going up to that US 1.5 might be just the thing to give me a little bit more room with those stitches in here. So we will see what happens. This could bomb on me. I sure hope not, because I'm really excited to make some beautiful socks in this yarn. This is from my Make 9 sock board, and I have said before that I wanted to make some more tonal socks for my sock wardrobe, which no, these were not. But this definitely fits the bill. And I did make a lighter blue pair of socks earlier this year that was more tonal in nature. So hoping just to add some more tonal socks into my sock wardrobe so that it's easier to wear those socks to work under slacks, because I have Mary Jane shoes and you definitely still see my socks. So not that, I mean, I have worn crazy socks and, you know, people just know me that I'm a knitter, so that's okay. But maybe a little more tasteful for working would be okay. So that's a barely started work in progress. I was kind of pushing myself to finish up those wash dishcloths this weekend. So that's what a lot of my time was focused on, was finishing that crochet. So just little baby whips. And then since my other blanket is so close to being finished, I thought I would go back to my Make 9 whip board and I would start working on one of those whips. So this is the Creative Advent Throw by Cozy Up Knits. I am working on a square for that. This is a project I started, I gotta think about this, I believe 2022, so December of 2022. And I did not purchase an advent for this specifically. I purchased a mini skein kit from Etsy in colors that I liked. It was more fall color inspired, but I really liked how the colors looked, and so I thought, well, that would be fun to work on. So of the 24 minis, I believe this is square number 17, 18, maybe 18. So I think it's 18. So I have 17 squares completed already, and if I remember, I will insert a picture in here. They're not blocked or anything, but you can get an idea of what they look like. So this blanket pattern was specifically designed for an advent kit. You can use, there's a fingering weight version and there's a DK weight version. I am using the DK weight version, which it does take some time to make each square. So I'm really glad that I'm doing DK weight, because I think it would get really long doing the fingering weight version. There are 3 different squares in the pattern, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but this is the button square. So it has those little bumps, which are referred to as buttons. So that's a nice texture to that. Then there is a stitch or a square that's just plain stockinette, I believe. And then one that has purl ridges. I just pulled this back out on Saturday night. So I haven't really looked at the other squares closely, but I had written down in my notes that the next square I needed to make was the button square. So I'm just alternating each time I go through the rotation of the plain, the garter ridge, and then the button stitch. So going through those. The 24 completed squares, which is what the original pattern, was designed for, makes at best it would be a fine baby blanket size. I mean, to me it looks more like the size of a rug. So I am going to supplement with I have some more DK skeins that I purchased 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and that will get added to this, and then any DK scraps that I have, if I have enough in a 20 grams to make some more squares. So this is definitely going to be a smaller blanket, probably a throw size, maybe smaller than the Cozy Memories blanket. But it's fun to get back to working on this. I just carry it in this little bag. I know I got this on Etsy. 3 Goobers Designs, I think. She has the cutest little quilted bags, and I don't know if she's still on there or not. But this is great just to take along one 20-gram skein and my yarn and just tuck it in there. And so I figured this was going to be a really nice, as we're going to be getting into the warmer weather, to take this project along and, just do a square when I feel like it. So excited to start pulling this out, now that we're heading into the warmer months. So that is another work in progress. Work in progress, yes. All right, I had said last time that I was kind of itching for cables, and so I did cast on a hat, but it is no more. And so this is my knitting tale of woe. I had purchased this smoked orange hat by Thea Coleman, and I'll try to insert a proper picture here. I love the cable detail. I love they look like little blossoms, little buds and blossoms on the hat. I absolutely loved it. So I got started with this gorgeous yarn. This is High Desert yarn, and maybe the name of the yarn is 2-track. I don't know, but it is a gorgeous, gorgeous. Maybe I'm still feeling all the fall vibes, because this is definitely, autumnal, but I've had this and I thought it would look beautiful in this hat. And let me tell you, it really did. It was so pretty. So you do the ribbing for a while. The thing that was hard, it's not complicated to understand. The cable stitches were fine. it was those little pretty blossoms that were giving me fits. And you know, I had read some things about people saying, you know, those were harder to execute because they're tight. So this won't give the pattern away, but there is a knit 5 together, which I know how to do a knit 5 together, but it's not just 5 knit stitches. It's a knit, a yarn over, a knit, a yarn over, a knit. So the first time I tried it, it was just too hard trying to get my needle through those stitches. And I tried taking a smaller needle to try to kind of wedge in there. I took a smaller cable needle, which I proceeded to bend because it was so tight. And I thought, okay, reading a little further, you know, people said do it really loosely. So I ripped out the hat up back through the ribbing portion. Tried again, tried to make those little, that special knit 5 stitch, you know, just really nice and loose. Got to the part where you have to, well, it's a make 5 and then a knit 5. Got to the part where you had to knit the 5 together again. And it was physically so hard, and it just kind of halted the knitting, like just stopped, and just trying to maneuver the needle, trying different ways to make it easier. My hands were just aching, and I thought, how many of those little bud stitches, you know, are on this hat? You know, there are so many. I like the looks of the hat so much, but that is not going to be an enjoyable knit at all. So, you know, I really do not like knitting projects beating me, but I thought, you know what? I want my knitting to be enjoyable. So you've got to stop. So I frogged the whole thing. So the yarn is back to a cake of yarn, and it will go back on my shelf till I decide what it wants to be. I almost cast on a Jason's cashmere hat just because I was so itching for cables, and I'm like, and I had made one for my brother-in-law for Christmas. I really liked it, but then I thought, you know what? No, don't do anything in haste. Just put this back on the shelf and, you know, think about what you want to do with it. So it will be back on the yarn shelf. That pattern will go away for now. I don't know if I will pull it out again, which just teaches me I need to really read pattern descriptions, and I probably really need to read, you know, other projects where people leave notes, you know, a pattern like this, where it has these different stitches, to see if it's something I really truly want to spend the time on making and potentially, you know, injure my hands. So I don't want to. I want my hands around a long time for knitting and crocheting and for playing the piano and the organ for my job. So that was kind of my knitting tale of woe. So I decided, hey, you have cable socks on your Make 9 sock board. So I'm like, do I want 2 socks? But this is a worsted weight pattern. So I did start, and it's barely a start. But I have the cuff done on this worsted weight cable sock. This is the Pumpkin Patch Cabin Socks by This Yellow Farmhouse. I knit a pair of green tweed ones last fall, which I really enjoyed. Worsted weight, it uses a size 7 needle, and I'm using Wool of the Andes tweed in the burdock heather, and I don't know exactly how it will show up on there. It's definitely kind of a gray brownish purple. It's really pretty. I really do like it. So it is 100% wool. No, it's not. I take that back. It's 80% Highland wool, 20% Donegal tweed, but it doesn't have that nylon in it. So I don't think I'll be stomping around in shoes or anything, but these will make nice, I'm kind of tangled here, nice slipper socks, I think. Although, you know, this yellow farmhouse, she says she uses them in her boots and everything. So, you know, maybe I could, but I kind of want to keep the socks nice. So I thought this would be fun to kind of do my cables, you know, to scratch that itch of wanting to do cables. This was already on my Make 9 board. So I figure a worsted weight sock is different enough from a fingering weight sock that I was okay with 2 sock projects on the needles. We'll see. I'd be curious to know, how many sock projects do you have on the needles? And at what point do you start becoming uncomfortable with how many sock projects you have on the needles? I know I've had up to 3 pair at one time, and that's definitely too much. I know we're going to be entering summer sock camp season, and so I might rethink that a little bit, but I really do like to make good progress on my projects instead of, you know, too little. So I don't like my projects to linger too long, which doesn't seem right when my Cozy Memories has been around for a long time. But sock projects for sure. I don't have any unfinished socks. I always persevere and get through them. So this seems pretty manageable right now. So those are the projects that I have been working on. Just a little bit of chatter. I said I do live in Nebraska, and I just want to thank so many of you who reached out to me over this weekend. If for some reason you hadn't heard, Nebraska was hit with tornadoes on Friday, pretty severe tornadoes, and there were some neighborhoods in Nebraska that sustained just horrific damage. You know, people have lost their homes, and, you know, my heart goes out to them. But so many of you wanted to make sure that, you know, I was okay, my family was safe, and we absolutely are. And that just means the world to me that you all were checking on me. Yeah, it was kind of a scary day. We were under a tornado warning, and there was a tornado kind of southwest of us. There was one to the east of us, you know, like a half hour in either direction. My daughter Jenna is in Lincoln at the University of Nebraska, and you know, tornadoes were spotted, you know, not too close to Lincoln, but close enough that, you know, there's pictures taken, you know, very close to where her dorm is. And, you know, it was just north of the music building. So, you know, those are really scary things to think about, you know, when your child is not at home with you, and to think about that. And then it had talked about, you know, possibly being at the Lincoln airport, and our son and his wife live near there. We knew they weren't at home, but just, you know, concerned about their home. But no, that area did not sustain the damage that the other places did. So there were so many videos, you know, showing the tornadoes, you know, going down the highway, people driving down the highway towards the tornado. Yeah, I guess there's, I don't know, that would not be me. I would be the first one running to the basement, or if I was in my car, I would be out of my car seeking a ditch. But a lot of thrill seekers, and it really seemed unreal seeing these videos of tornadoes going down the highways, you know, places that we drive and everything. So it was very scary, and I'm grateful that, you know, our area is okay. But like I said, my heart really goes out to those people that lost so much in the storms. So I am okay, and thank you, friends, for reaching out. I really do appreciate that. So I am done with school, turning to something else. I am done with school. Last week was my final week for teaching piano lessons and for teaching at the college. I do have a few commitments this week. I have 2 piano recitals for the kiddos tonight and tomorrow night. And then I also am going to the college tomorrow for a final keyboard exam. for my students. I just go and observe. And then I will be playing the organ this weekend. I played this yesterday. I played last weekend. So I do 2 weekends in a row I have for playing. So kind of still a bit busy, but this morning, Monday morning, you know, rather than being at work ready to start teaching at 8 o'clock, I was sitting on the couch, you know, enjoying my breakfast. So that was kind of nice. It's slowly sinking in that I'm almost on summer vacation, and that feels pretty good. So with that, I guess that's all to share for right now. I was really excited to take the time to podcast today. And I will be back sometime soon with an April recap of yarns I used, how I'm doing with my Make Nines, so using stash, did I purchase any yarn? So watch for that video coming soon. With that, I would love to hear what you're working on. And about the socks, let me know how many sock whips you have if you're a sock knitter, and do you like having lots of sock whips, and how do you manage them? How do you rotate through them, or do you like to be very monogamous with your sock knitting? But other than that, I'd love to hear what projects you are working on, spring projects, scrappy projects, anything. I just love hearing from you guys. So with that, I will say goodbye for now, and I hope to see you really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.